All right, let's quit fucking around and let's find out. It's Thursday. It's failure to stop. That means it's first responder sports. It's a legal shift. I'm John, and with Kief and your permission, we'll start the show.
Let's do it.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the
Giving them business down there at the 15-yard penalty.
There was no foul on the play. It was not a hold. The defender was just overpowered.
Illegal shift on the kicking team. That penalty is refused. First down.
Guns up, giddy up. Wolfpack, it's failure to stop. It's the #1 podcast platform where we go to inform and entertain first responders just like you, and we're here to annoy and baffle and bemuse just regular folks. I'm John. I'm a 911 dispatcher, and I'm here talking about sports. Doesn't make any sense. Like, why is anyone listening to this podcast? Joining me as always, Jason Kiefer, which I've always wanted to ask you, what is Jason short for?
Jason.
Oh, I thought it was a nickname. He's a lieutenant somewhere in the Buckeye State. He's kind of one of those big wigs putting out fires. Any big fires lately? Anything really hot you want to talk about?
Yeah, we had a arson car fire the other day, which was neat. I don't know why people.
How does one go about an arson?
Well, this upstanding individual decided to take like a creek rock and throw it through the rear window of an SUV and spray it down with lighter fluid and then light it. And
Why?
we got the video. I have no idea. Because people are dumb and that's job security.
Some kind of fucking misanthrope out there just lighting vehicles on fire. Was it a nice vehicle?
It was a 17 Traverse.
Oh, so no.
To answer your question, no.
I've had bad experiences with GMs in recent years. Not a big fan. It's the Illegal Shift show, so we're going to do some comedy and some sports and maybe fill up your ear holes with sound while you're on the toilet or trying to fall asleep or at the gym. Nothing new's happening with me. Thank you for asking. I did get the air conditioning fixed in my house, so it's no longer 100 degrees in here. I did a podcast last week where it was so hot that like the pipes in my basement that just carry cold water, they're all like dripping with condensation. Everything's wet.
you were glistening in the
I was
light.
glistening. What's funny about it is when you're in the basement and your fucking ceiling is leaking and it's not raining outside, it's like that's how you know this house is just trying to kill you anymore. And when the plumber came over, because like I can't fix air conditioning. Who are we kidding? I mentioned to him like, yeah, I'll probably see you soon. I'm putting your child through college, so a couple weeks. But they refilled me with refrigerant. Not me personally, although that would be one solution. And I'm still going to have to replace the air conditioning in the spring. So time to start saving them pennies, which reminds me, it's a great time to talk about ads because that's where the money comes from.
Yes, sir.
Show's brought to you by GhostBed. You can go to ghostbed.com, use the offer code Wolfpack. You can save 40%. You can get sleep so good that it's scary with 0% down, 0% financing. If you have Antonio Brown credit, because Antonio Brown's bankrupt, is that joke? You could go over there and you can save a lot of money. You could try it for not 99 nights, not 100 nights, but 101 nights, which is great for people like me who really don't have long-term plans. I guess we'll just leave it like that. You could have a ghost bed conceivably for the rest of your life without having to worry about whether or not it's right for you. The executor of your estate could have that return with really no problem. And we appreciate GhostBed, of course, because they support first responders like me and Kiefer and veterans, of all wars, whatever. Who knows? You could go over there and use the offer code Wolfpack. I think they don't care. I think if you're buying ghost beds from them, they'll love you. If you deserve sleep, unless you're some kind of piece of shit going out there and setting GMCs on fire for no other reason than it gives you a cheap thrill. You have no job and you're setting them on fire. You deserve a good night's sleep. So unless you're that guy, take care of yourself. Make sure you're getting fully rested and restored so you can take on the world tomorrow, because it's not going to get better tomorrow. It's going to get much, much worse. Also, if you're hungry, factory meals. I'm very excited right now. Right now, I'm on a fast. You wonder why I'm like a little bit more subdued than was last week when I was I was a bit of a giggle puss last week. This week, my energy level's lower. And it's because I haven't eaten for a day. I'm fasting right now. And it's exciting times. I don't mind fasting. It's something I'm doing to kind of focus myself mentally, but also to lose a little weight. Try to shock my system a little bit into losing some weight, and I'll get into a routine where I'm intermittently fasting. But I'm excited about Factor Meals because thanks to me buying plane tickets to Florida, I was able to receive a massive deal with Factor Meals, which you can also get. My offer code Wolfpack50 has already been used. I don't get to keep using that forever. But I get to use Factor Meals with a discount again, and I'm getting Factor Meals coming to my house extra cheap again. Factor Meals is always ready to do a good deal for you. But I set it up for this time calorie management. So like in the past, when I've been loading up, when I've been bulking up, I've decided I'm officially bulky enough. Now I'm going to trim down. I'm going to trim out the fat, and I'm going to be a lean cut of meat again. And I'm excited because I was able to set up meals, and I know I'm going to be able to do my meal prep easily. I'm going to eat this chicken. It's 550 calories, and I'm good to go. So if you're tracking calories, if you're watching closely the stuff that you eat because you're trying to have big goals for how you want to change your body, Factor Meals is something that can help you do that. And of course, this is not frozen food. This is delicious fresh food being delivered right to your house. And you really can't beat that. It's reverse trick-or-treat style delivery. They bring it right to you. Go on their website. You can use their app as well. They got so many options. You can pick things, how many meals you want delivered a week. If you get to the end, you're like, I want one more thing. You can add things a la carte. You can say, well, you know what? I want breakfast this week. And you can have breakfast delivered to you as well. And you can have that, and it's just ready to go. Especially if your life is hectic. You don't want to face Bidenomics. You don't want to go out into the throng of humanity because they're the kind of people that would take a river rock and throw it through the back of your GMC Terrain and light it on fire for no big deal. If you don't want to risk exposing yourself to those people, then only expose yourself to the mailman and have those meals brought directly to you. Kief.
I can't wait till an Instagram comes through where somebody exposed it.
They're going to want bail money from me, and they're like, John told me to do this. Where I live, it's actually not a crime to be naked unless somebody there is offended, and the person who's offended can't be the police officer. So
you needed to end that with question mark?
Question mark? Oh, yeah, right. I forgot to say, expose yourself to the postal employee? Question mark? That would get me off the hook. I've been exposing myself to liability, so that's not good. The big news this week in sports, another kind of sad thing. We talked about Kyrie Jackson last week dying in that terrible car accident. And this kind of got me thinking as I was doing research for the show. Jacoby Jones, he's the star of Baltimore's most recent Super Bowl run. He's 40, so he's the same age as me. Great player. He's known for that 108-yard kickoff return. He's passed away. And I was just like, this was finally the box that got checked that made me realize, like, holy crow, like, we got NFL players dying all over the place. Like, case in point, like, I know that you don't follow these guys, right? But there's a tight end that played for the Cowboys, Gavin Escobar. I think he was, the first or second tight end there for a little bit after Jason Witten. But he died rock climbing. This was, 2 years ago. So I'm not trying to say that, there's like a mass murder in progress, but he was only 31. Marion Barber died. I don't know if you remember that. He also played for the Cowboys. He died of heat stroke, I think that same year. And of course, he was a young guy as well. And when Jacoby Jones died and Kyrie Jackson died, I'm just like, what is happening? Because we got young guys with a bright, promising future, tons of money, should be in good health. And the more I investigated, the more I learned these guys are just kind of dropping all over the place. And I don't think it gets major news. And if major news isn't going to cover it, and if it seems kind of fringy, well, that's where I come in. So I'm going to read this from the Associated Press to talk about Jacoby Jones. A former NFL receiver Jacoby Jones, whose 108-yard kickoff return in 2013 remains the longest touchdown in Super Bowl history, has died. He was 40. The Houston Texans, Jones's teams for the first 5 seasons of his career, announced his death on Sunday. In a statement released by the NFL Players Association, his family said he died at his home in New Orleans. Cause of death not given. And I'm guessing we're probably not going to get that. Like they're not obligated to release that. And when somebody dies young, and I want to say 40 is young, it's always kind of confusing how that happens. Barber died of heat stroke. Escobar died in a rock climbing accident. So we understand those. Jones played from 2007 to 2015 for the Texans, the Ravens, and the San Diego Chargers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he made several huge plays for the Ravens during their most recent Super Bowl title season. Jones was a key part of Baltimore's mile-high miracle in a playoff game at Denver in January 2013. He caught a 70-yard touchdown pass with 31 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter to tie the score. The Ravens eventually won in double overtime. In the Super Bowl postseason against San Fran, he caught 56 yards. Eventual MVP Joe Flacco. That's right. Joe Flacco was an MVP. Search your minds. You know it to be true. Then he raced 108 yards to the end zone to open the season second half and give Baltimore 20-6 lead. The Ravens held on for a 34-31 victory. I don't know, man. What do you think about that? I've seen the highlights, obviously, this week with him being passed away. It's sad, isn't it? I mean, he's gone from the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 40 is definitely way too young to pass on. I'm very curious as to the cause of death. I mean, like you said earlier, Escobar, rock climbing. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. Heat stroke. Barber probably should have known better, but who knows? Those circumstances. When they have the mysterious ones or they don't release it, that's what gets your mind going as to what is the root cause behind this. I mean, you've got, and again, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but you have DeMar Hamlin who took a shot, right to the chest at the perfect time, dies but comes back, right? So those things you can wrap your head around, but a lot of these guys that die of medical issues, like you said, should be in fairly good shape. Even if they were out of the game, they're probably not too far removed. So, what is it? I mean, is it something that we won't bring up so that way we don't get dinged because that I brought up a few weeks ago?
I don't know. See, like, that's the thing. We have to work out a timeline, right? Because when did Jacoby Jones retire? Because then he wouldn't have been obligated to do anything that might have placed him in danger. But, obviously Escobar and Barber out of that conversation. But let's bring someone else into the conversation because this is from this year. This is from April of this year. Former Giants lineman Corey Cunningham dies at age 28. Real young guy.
Yeah, real young.
Former New York Giants offensive lineman Corey Cunningham was found dead in his New Jersey home. He was 28. We were saddened to hear the passing of Corey Cunningham, the Giants said in a statement Friday morning. He was a vital part of the spirit and camaraderie of the locker room. Our thoughts are with Corey's family, friends, and teammates. The Giants did not disclose a cause of death, as right, they should not. Clifton police on Thursday, he died in Clifton, had to force their way into Cunningham's house where they found him deceased, according to a police spokesperson. Police are still investigating, but foul play is not suspected at this time. Cunningham was drafted in the 7th round by the Arizona Cardinals out of Cincinnati, so he was one of your boys.
Mm-hmm.
He also spent time with the Patriots before joining the Giants in 2021. He played in 31 career games with 6 starts, but dealt with foot injuries throughout his career. He had surgery as a rookie with the Cardinals and later with the Giants. He never played another game after that. 6'6", 311-pound offensive lineman. Holy crow, that guy's the same size as me, only he's a lot heavier. Oh, man, he could pick me up and rip me in half lengthwise. Was known for his upbeat personality and his big laugh. He was a favorite among teammates during his years with the Giants. It's kind of like true crime. Whenever one of these athletes passed away, they always talk about what a major effect he was, in the locker room and how he's a part of the camaraderie and stuff. And I don't think any of these organizations should come out and say, nobody knew this guy. He was a loner, a desperate loner, weirdo, made weird jokes, sweaty all the time, kind of kept to himself. We always thought he would kill the team,
Right.
They never say things like that. Damn, man. Former Giants running back Saquon Barkley posted on X. Former Giants offensive lineman Justin Pugh said Cunningham remained connected to the team even after he was cut. We would invite him to the O-line dinner every week, even though he wasn't on the team, which doesn't happen ever, Pugh wrote on X. Team dinners are for players on the team only, except for Corey, solely because he was beloved by all the guys, regardless if you knew him or not. He'd tell stories, and we'd laugh our asses off all night. Today is sad, but I'll always remember the good times and the laughs. Everyone who knew Corey Cunningham was better for it. The world lost a great soul. Safety Jason Pinnock said on an Instagram story, "This one hurt. Regardless of what you were going through, you wore the biggest smile. You were the first person to come and help me when I was moving and getting settled at the New York Giants. Middle of camp, you were grinding to be on the team and learn a new playbook. And you were the first at my house, ready. Take care of yourself and call your friends, people. I love you." So I wonder kind of what that implies there, too. They talk about him having a big smile and him being the first to help people. I don't know. It just kind of hints that maybe he knows some things that we don't. And then we covered this one earlier this year, Kief. Former NFL star Vernon Davis has a theory about Vonte Davis's death, but still waiting for more details. We talked about that death earlier this year. Former NFL tight end Vernon Davis is dealing with a tragedy this week after his brother Vonte, who passed away on Monday at the age of 35. He was young as well. Police haven't released very many details about the situation, but Vernon did share a new piece of information. According to Vernon, it appears that Vonte may have collapsed and slipped moments after he stepped out of the sauna. Could it have been heat stroke like Marion Barber, I wonder? However, Vernon did point out that authorities still don't have an official cause of death.
So you've got two right there, Cunningham and Davis. That Cunningham, I'm going to assume the way you described that it was probably a welfare check. How long had it been since he had been seen before they forced entry into his place? And then same thing with Davis. I remember Davis, I don't remember the whole article, but I believe it stated in the article that we read that he hadn't been seen in like a day or two, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so I mean, these guys are collapsing. Whether it appears that they were both alone for a period of time. So yeah, I mean, what the sauna thing? Okay, did Davis slip, hit his head, or did he have potentially heat stroke after getting out of the sauna and collapse?
Wouldn't it still be nuts though, just to slip first of all, just because it's kind of a inglorious death, but then to fall and hit your head, and that's what takes you out after all the violence that you suffer on the NFL. I know you're wearing a helmet and pads and all this, but just the danger of your own house being worse than that on the football field is kind of insane.
Yeah.
I'm leaning on detectives to figure it out, but right now we have no answers. Vernon Davis said they're going to run tests, and they said they'll get back to us. It could be last as long as a month and a half until we know anything. 40-year-old Davis says he was shocked to hear the death of his younger brother. This thing definitely caught me by surprise. I just don't know what to make of it, Vernon said. Older brother noticed he'd been hanging out with Vonte in Florida as recently as last month, and everything seemed completely normal. I was at his house 2 weeks ago and had the massage therapist there. He had a stretch therapist, a chiropractor, you name it. Vonte's ex-wife, Megan Harp, told the Daily Mail that CTE may have been a factor, but Vernon isn't quite ready to buy that theory yet. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not. We really don't have an answer because there's no way to see into our brain while we're alive. Vonte really never showed any history of using drugs or anything like that. Vernon said his little brother was a hard worker who successfully navigated their tough background. I'm proud of him for his work ethic, his ability, his discipline, for understanding the difference between being good and great at something and putting in the work. We were the difference makers in our family. We came from a tough background, and we had goals and aspirations to be better than the space we came out of. Vernon was clearly proud of Vonte. I could not have picked a better little brother, he said. Not only did his brothers overcome the odds to make it to the NFL, but they also got voted to 2 Pro Bowls in their careers. Vernon played for 15 seasons before retiring, while Vonte played 10 years in the NFL before hanging up his cleats in 2018. There's more, though. This comes from The Guardian. This is about Chris Smith, this player who died at the age of 31. Man. Former NFL defensive end Chris Smith died at the age of 31, according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Rest in peace, Chris. Rosenhaus wrote on his Twitter, "Condolences to all of his family, friends, and loved ones. We will miss you. Cause of death not released." And I get it. Like, that's none of our business, but in a sense, but it just makes you wonder. Smith played college at Arkansas before he was drafted by the Jags in the 5th round in 2014. He also played for the Bengals a little bit. Raiders, Browns, Panthers, Ravens, kind of got all over the place. He last played in the NFL for Houston. He had signed the XFL's Seattle Sea Dragons in March. Several NFL players played tribute to Smith, saying that, rest in paradise, hometown hero, brother to everyone, such a kind soul. This is heartbreaking. Former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr shared a photo of the two together, saying, "Love you, bro." Smith had endured tragedy in his personal life. In 2019, his girlfriend, Petara Condero, was killed after being struck by a car. The two had recently had a daughter together. Oh, man. So there's a poor little orphan kid out there. That's really sad.
Death everywhere. Holy shit.
Yeah. But you know what? Smith isn't the only one. Ex-football player, NFL draft hopeful A.J. Simon dies at 25. So he didn't make it to the NFL, but he was hoping to. Former Albany football player was preparing to go to the 2024 draft before his sudden death at the age of 25. This is from last April, so right before the draft. Former Albany defensive lineman in 2024 draft hopeful A.J. Simon has died. He was 25. Cause of death not immediately known. The U Albany football program was deeply saddened to learn of the passing of former student athlete Emil A.J. Simon this morning, the school said. A.J. was a tremendous young man and even better teammate through his time at U Albany. He is a role model for both on and off the field, serving as a pillar to the program for the last 2 years. He recorded 12.5 sacks with Albany and was selected by the It was hoping to be selected in the NFL draft later this month to begin his pro career. The former All-CAA first-team selection on defense, Simon played the last 2 seasons at Albany before beginning his college football career at Bloomsbury. My prayers are dedicated to the Simon family, Albany football coach said. I love you, AJ, and always have a special place in my heart for number 8. But you know what? It's just shocking. All these players kind of all dealing with tragedy and facing all this stuff, and it doesn't always make the news. You just have to wonder why it's happening.
Yeah, and that A.J. Simon, 25, Jesus.
You got to put it all in perspective, Kief.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put it in perspective. 25 years old, like you said, he was just pretty much getting ready to start, hopefully a pro career, but you know, hadn't even really experienced any life yet. You know, I'm looking at the the bottom graphic at all these ages, and Cunningham 28. I mean, it's fucking sad, man.
Yeah. I don't mean to start off the show with bringing people down, but I think it's amazing that we've got all these like pro and potentially pro athletes out there just dying of various causes and dying very young. And I don't have the stats to back this up, but I mean, is it just because they're in the news that I'm aware of it, or like, do people of this age typically die, or is it because of the sports, or is it because of the training that they're enduring? Is it because they're worried about staying in form? Are these guys taking drugs? Like, some of these guys have difficult backgrounds, like they talked about Davis kind of coming from a rough background. And for some of them, being the ex-players, are they not able to really cope with being out of the league? Some of them, there was a guy that played for Dallas a couple years ago, but he didn't do well with not being on the team anymore, and he turned to drugs. I think that's probably a fairly common thing. Like, I don't even necessarily have to drop names for that, but
right.
These guys just dropping left and right, and in different causes, of course, like with Kyrie Jackson, it was a car accident or whatever, but every time they say, cause of death unknown, I just wonder what's going on with these guys. I don't know.
And why aren't they releasing it? If in fact they have it at that point in time.
The other thing I think of is that, like, with a lot of these guys, their cause of death is like pretty mundane. Like, they might find out it's suicide, which they're generally not going to release, or if it's something stupid, I hate to say, like, you slip and then you hit your head and you die, like, like the way Bob Saget died or whatever. I could see that actually being released to the press, and the press just being like, oh, well, whatever, the news doesn't really care about these people. The news is just looking for something that's going to sell ads. So, maybe we'll find out about some of these guys and maybe we won't, but it's just amazing to me that so many players have died. And what's NFL players who are younger than me are dying? What does that say about us, Kief?
We're apparently old dinosaurs now. And
I'm not in good shape.
The end is near.
I'm almost 40, and I could slip, trip, and fall, or I don't know. Just something that's interesting. You wanted to also cover, this is something a little bit more funny, so that we could pull up out of the spiral of sadness there. Was the Homerun Derby the other night. I missed it, which is too bad, because it seems to me like the Homerun Derby seems like the one game that I would enjoy playing. Could you explain the Homerun Derby to me briefly?
So I didn't watch it this year. They've made, over the last couple of years, they've made different rule changes, but you'll have, and I can't remember how many participants were in it, but a lot of the big names this year opted out. They did not want to participate. So it kind of,
why was that?
To be honest with you, I mean, I don't I don't have a great answer.
I just asked because we talked about last week with Joe Burrow how he wanted to have the Pro Bowl in the middle of the season.
Right.
This would be kind of an equivalent. It's not the All-Star game or whatever, but this is one of those baseball events that's just for fun, and players are not wanting to do it. They don't want to risk injury, or they don't see the point, or
I think risking injury is part of it. Also, that there's superstition that if you go on and you're successful in a home run derby, you end up going into a slump on the second half of the season. So there's that superstition that's out there. I mean, they get rewarded for winning it. I think it was like $1 million to the winner, and then there was a bonus that I read, like $250,000 bonus, but I can't remember what that was for. But they've changed the rules, so each player will have they'll pick who their pitcher is going to be, and they're behind like the L screen, the batting practice net, and they're lobbing meatballs out there for these guys to hit. But now they've put them on a pitch clock and a pitch count. So these guys have 40 pitches in 3 minutes to be able to blast out of there. So then, I mean, they end up getting tired, and all the articles that I read about it seemed it was very anticlimactic. But they said, and they even said that like towards the end, that a lot of the players that are playing in the All-Star game that weren't in the Home Run Derby were like on couches, along the foul lines, sitting there watching it. Well, towards the end, like not even half of them were out there anymore. So it's like they got bored. So one of the articles was, if the players that are in the All-Star game aren't interested in the Home Run Derby, then why should the fans be? So it's like the Pro Bowl, how they've changed that over the years. They keep changing this, and I think it's driving people away from it. I used to love it. We had the All-Star game here in Cincinnati a few years ago, and Todd Frazier, who was a Red at the time, was in the Home Run Derby, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go. I didn't go to the All-Star game, but I went that night before, and we watched Todd Frazier win it here in his for his hometown, or hometown team rather. And the place was just absolutely electric. Now, granted, he played for the Reds, so obviously you're going to have but you also had a lot of people that were from out of town that were here for the game. And it seemed more exciting back then, and even, years before that. So it slowly kind of declined. And I'm a baseball guy, but I was like, I don't really care this year.
It seems like the more they do for the fans, the less the fans appreciate it.
Right. That's the way it seems, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of definitely sort of understand that. Not to kind of go into that a little bit, but it seems like the harder you work for people, that they just take you for granted. And I think if we eliminated their home run derby, some people would clamor about it, but then I think they would move on. Like I think the Pro Bowl died a long, slow death, like with only one man out there that cared about it, which was me. And and now we don't have that anymore. But baseball's about tradition, if nothing else. And do you know when the first home run derby was?
Oh, I don't. I do not.
You Google that. I'm going to actually talk about the main reason we're talking about the home run derby. If you're not watching us on YouTube, I really enjoyed this pun. But bad singer or wishful drinking, because I guess one of her songs is wishful drinking, and she may never sing this song in public again since Andress went out there and destroyed the anthem. Kiefer made reference to Roseanne Barr also being asked once to sing the national anthem, which, if you ask me, the people who were drunk on that occasion were whoever decided Roseanne Barr singing the national anthem would be a good idea. It's like we don't respect ourselves, because why would we set ourselves up for this? But with your permission, Kief, I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of this country music star singing badly the national anthem. And with your permission, I will actually play it.
Bleeding ears.
That you singing right there? Sound like you.
That ain't me. That ain't me. Well, trending this morning, this interesting.
That's about all I could stand on an audio presentation. There's members of the military there. There's a color guard behind her. Like, do you think that they're just cringing? They're just like, I can't believe I fought for this. I can't believe I worked so hard not only as a member of the military, but to get on this prestigious honor guard, to show up at this baseball game, you know, which for them has to be prestigious, a big deal. Like they're probably telling their mom to watch or whatever. And Ingrid Andress is out there just, she's completely sloshed and butchering it. I was saying before the show, the national anthem is not an easy song to sing. I would know. I'm a professionally trained singer. And you have to be in really bad shape to decide you're going to be singing our most important song, I think, as a country. It's like the one song that's like actually going to get people pissed off at you when you do it wrong. And you're going to go out there with an opportunity to do something great. Like we all remember Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. And it was like a moment in our cultural history when that happened. And then by the same token, Roseanne Barr also doing a bad job. So Ingrid Andress is given a chance to go out there and do this at this Homerun Derby. And she didn't give a fuck. It's like, I'm just going to drink and I'm going to go out there and perform this incredibly important, incredibly hard song in front of, you know, lots of people, millions of people, and just do a really fucking shitty job. But I say again, because somebody put Roseanne Barr up to the task of singing the song. Isn't there a handler there? You know, someone that will be like, I'm the master of ceremony of this. Like, I'm not going to put out a bad presentation on TV, you know, whether it's someone from Major League Baseball, someone from the network, someone who's a shot caller. And they see Ingrid Andress come out there and she's all like stooping and stumbling all over the place. And just have a regular backup singer, like have someone there from the Marine Corps or something, somebody that could just step into the role and sing the song with some dignity or whatever. And then when people are like, oh, I thought Ingrid Andress was going to sing it, you could just be like, we refer to Ingrid Andress on why she did not sing the song. And she has to come out and say, like, well, they told me I couldn't do it because I was plastered. You know what I mean? That way it kind of puts it on her and we avoid the embarrassment of this. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, somebody definitely dropped the ball, allowing her to whatever she was doing, whether she was shotgunning beers or ripping shots or whatever the hell she was doing. Yeah, that next day, seeing her Instagram post stating that I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it pulled up, but I'm not gonna lie, I was fucking hammered, and I'm checking myself into rehab today. And then she says at the end that I heard rehab is fun. IDK. So,
oh boy,
I mean, she's throwing light to it, but you know. Yeah.
How about you apologize to your fans or apologize to the country? Like that would be okay. And
yeah,
not for singing badly, because I don't mean for singing badly because that's subjective and whatever. Like I don't always have my best work, but you should apologize for like just your lackadaisical, non-caring attitude about it. I think, you know?
Yeah. And I'm not familiar with her work at all. And I listen to country music. I had no idea who she was.
I didn't know you were a country music guy.
Yeah, I listen to everything, but I listen to a lot of country. But she's been nominated for a ton of awards. She's won a few.
Yeah, I looked her up. That's how I got the wishful drinking reference. But because I'm not a country music person either. But she also let down her fans, right? Like, how are people supposed to go out there? Anyone who has albums or I don't know how people express fandom anymore. I imagine somebody has like her poster on the wall, but it's like, you know, that's disappointing. It's a big letdown to her fans. It's a letdown to Major League Baseball and her country. But
as I was searching her, you know, as you go down to Google search, it's, you know, what is Ingrid Andress doing now? And in my head, I'm like, not drinking, apparently.
Nope. Well,
or singing.
Until she checks herself out, you know, she's voluntarily going in, she'll voluntarily leave. Let's not kid ourselves.
Right.
And we know how these things don't work out. But this whole thing brings to mind something that's a bigger question. Why aren't there adults? I always thought when I was a kid that like somebody was in charge to make sure things go smooth, right? Like we're going to make sure that no presidential candidate will ever be shot at again. Like the whole Kennedy thing, we learned our lesson. It's never going to happen again. You know, because we've got secret security. They're adults. They know what they're doing. We're never going to hear some drunk lady sing the national anthem on national TV during the Homerun Derby because there's people for this. There's people that stop stupid shit from happening.
Yeah.
No, they're nowhere. Like whatever. Like there's no adults running this country. Everyone's only as good as me. It's just shocking to me that like really the standards for everything in this country seem to have gone down the shitter.
Well,
It
you
just,
shouldn't be shocked. You shouldn't be shocked because, I mean, obviously, we see, the worst of the worst. But, and as I said earlier, stupid people's job security for us, right, wrong, or indifferent. But just shows you people don't do their jobs and don't care about their jobs. Because, there should have been somebody that was in charge of her that whole day. Whether it's her manager, somebody from baseball.
yes,
I would
her
imagine
manager should have stopped it. Fuck, it's bad for the manager. He gets a piece of her action. Why would he want her to go out there and do that?
And this is, I mean, a little bit off topic, but one of Cincinnati. Well, you know who Tom Brenneman is, who used to broadcast for NFL and the Cubs, and then he did some Red stuff, and he's the one that got canceled because of the statement he made in Kansas City on a hot mic. Well, you never heard anything of what happened to that producer who knew that it was live. Who hit the button? Who hit or didn't hit the button to stop the broadcast? In a break. So people don't do their fucking jobs is what it comes down to.
I'm trying real hard to do mine. But the other thing is like the other thing too is somebody put this together the other day, and I had my own thoughts on it. But they're like, compared the 2012 debate between the 2024 one, where it was Mitt Romney and Obama like being very cordial and respectful to each other, and having a lot of agreements about taxes and infrastructure and climate change or whatever, which kind of makes me hate Mitt Romney. But it really was like an elevated, like civil discourse between two people that can at least act like gentlemen. And then so they show that back and forth of Romney and Obama going back and forth. And then they show Biden and Trump going back and forth about their golf handicap. And it's just like, Jesus, like everything's, and I like some candidates more than others. I don't think it takes much around here to figure out, which candidate I'll be voting for, if indeed I do vote, which I'm not registered to vote anymore. But I asked for my rights to be taken away. I asked for my driver's license to be canceled. But it just goes to show you, like, the country that you and I grew up in the 80s and 90s doesn't exist anymore, man. Like, we used to have like some dignity. I remember when George Bush 41 like went to Japan and like threw up all over the place, and it was tremendously embarrassing. Now we got Biden going out there and pooping his pants like all the time in front of Russia and China and these countries that are actually a threat to us. Back in 1991 or whenever that happened with George Bush OG, throwing up, no one was a threat to us. The Soviet Union had basically crumbled. They had basically ceased to exist. China was nothing back in those days. There weren't threats to us back then like there are now. I don't want to say that there was nothing going on, because of course Iraq was fucking around and all this, and Iran kind of always, being assholes. But now we're facing these much bigger threats from a reorganized and reinvigorated Russia, and certainly China. And we need a president that could go out there and show that this country is not a joke. And it seems like, with Biden or whatever, it just shows that nobody's really in charge. Same thing with Ingrid Andress. We could just go out there and be drunk and make asses of ourselves as a country, and it's fine now. And it just, I don't think this situation with Andress singing the national anthem for the Homerun Derby, even though Roseanne Barr was kind of back in that same Bush era, I don't think that this would have been allowed to happen. I think that you're right. Nobody's doing their job anymore.
Yeah, the standards have been lowered in mankind, period, it seems, and nobody gives a shit. And it's unfortunate.
Well, they're doing a better job in China, which is what scares me. They're actually trying over there and doing a good job. Speaking of somebody not doing their job or not doing it well, I wanted to mention this. This is a story that's been in the news this week. I decided to go off the rails, go insane. And this is from NPR, but I also wanted to get the most for my money because my fucking tax dollars pay for NPR. And I'm against that. If I was any kind of executive or member of Congress, I would vote to end NPR completely because there's no reason for us to pay for it. This is from NPR. NFL Hall of Fame player Terrell Davis says he was handcuffed and removed from a United flight. This is just from yesterday. So NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis is speaking out as he says he was wrongfully handcuffed and removed from a United Airlines flight over the weekend following an incident with a flight attendant on board. In an Instagram post uploaded on Monday, the former Denver Broncos running back says he and his family were on board a United Airlines flight from Denver to Santa Ana, California, when the incident occurred on Saturday. Davis says that the incident happened after his son requested a cup of ice during the beverage service part of the flight. The flight attendant on board, according to Davis, either didn't hear or ignored my son's request and continued past our row. I'm going to ask for ice when I fly out in September. I calmly reached behind me and lightly tapped the attendant's arm to get his attention, which is normal. Like you're on the flight, like the engines are really loud, your ears are popping. It's just an environment in which there's not a lot of conversation to be had usually. I reached around and lightly tapped the attendant's arm to get his attention to ask for a cup of ice for my son, Davis wrote. His response and the events that followed should stun all of us. It's an attack on our liberty, he said. An attack on one is an attack on all. No, I'm just kidding. During the exchange, Davis alleges the flight attendant, who has not been publicly identified for ridicule, shouted, "Don't hit me!" and left the beverage cart to hurriedly approach the front of the plane. "I'm telling the pilot on you," which is exactly what happened, by the way. Davis says that he recalled both himself and other passengers on board being confused after witnessing the reaction from the flight attendant. I thought nothing of it other than this particular employee was incredibly rude and blatantly wrong in his accusation of me hitting him. I did not see or interact with him further during the flight, so he just left the cart there. Like, I guess someone else had to come get it. Retired NFL player said he once the plane landed in California, 6 FBI agents with nothing better to do than fucking arrest Terrell Davis and other law enforcement agents boarded the plane. Can you imagine being an FBI agent and just having nothing fucking going on?
And then they're like, we're going to need.
And you really 6 FBI agents? Here's the thing. They can identify this guy. They're like, oh, the guy in, 27A, hit me. And they're like, oh, who is that? Well, it's Terrell Davis. And they're like, oh, who is that? I don't know. The guy that got hit, the flight attendant guy, obviously has no idea who he is. But we're seriously going to call the FBI and have 6 FBI agents come and board the plane and come get him. Come on. Retired NFL players said that once the plane landed, all the FBI agents and law enforcement boarded the plane, placed him in handcuffs, and he alleges that he was removed from the flight in front of his wife and children. That's embarrassing, but being arrested is really not a big deal, I guess. Davis says the incident left him humiliated, embarrassed, powerless, and angry. I guess you get to maybe make out your case for a lawsuit against United if you want. During questioning, it was rightfully determined by the agents that this flight attendant was inaccurate in his accusations, and the agents profusely apologized, saying, "Damn, dude, sure as fucking sucks that there's 6 of us. And even though the White House is full of crack cocaine, we don't have anything to do. And the country's full of illegal immigrants, we have nothing to do. And people are shooting at presidential hopefuls, but we got nothing to do. So we're going to come arrest you. Even offering support to me and my family in any way possible." That's nice. They're like, "Do you want to ride? We've got all these black SUVs. We got a black helicopter outside if you want to be flown somewhere."
We flew it in just to get you.
Yeah, we were going to take you to a black site where we were going to waterboard you, but now we won't. In an email to NPR, the FBI confirmed that agents and local law enforcement officers at the John Wayne Airport responded to a report regarding an incident that occurred aboard a flight that required a further investigation. Well, they did not confirm specific names or details, and following the investigation, the agency told NPR that the individual was detained for questioning, was cooperative with law enforcement, and released to continue his travels. "We set him free. We took him to a stream where he first spawned, and he swam upstream to lay his eggs." I don't know. United Airlines tells NPR that it has removed the flight attendant from their duties while the airline closely reviews the incident. The airline adds that it will continue to work with Davis's team to discuss the incident. "We're trying really hard not to be sued. We understand that this is a difficult time for Davis and his family. We urgently hope that something more terrible will happen to distract people. Will we try to find a way to cover this up? This is clearly not the kind of travel experience we want to provide, and we have reached out to Mr. Davis's team to apologize. If this is how we treat rich, powerful, and important people, you could bet your sweet ass that when the chumps get on this plane, they will be pistol whipped with no apology." Parker Steiner, the attorney representing Davis, said, "Holy fuck, it's payday. and he called for an immediate investigation into the flight attendant. In a statement to NPR, he said that his team plans to investigate the incident and will be in contact with United for millions and millions of dollars. What took place in United Airlines flight concerning Mr. Davis is appalling and disturbing, to say the least. Oh, they're suing. Mr. Davis' statement speaks for itself, and we can all agree no person should be subjected to this kind of injustice and humiliation, especially in front of their wife and child. This is basically the George Floyd of the air, he said. Jesus. Davis, who played 7 seasons for the Broncos from 95 to 01, is one of 8 running backs in the NFL to rush more than 2,000 yards in a season. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. Oh, man, they got a Hall of Fame player, too. Do you know what would happen? Keith, what would happen if this happened to you?
Oh, shit. I'd have gotten thrown on the ground, pepper sprayed, beat with a baton. I mean, you name it. What I wish he would have done is tap this dude and said, "Excuse me, stewardess, I speak jive," because they didn't beat June Cleaver. They didn't beat June Cleaver in Airplane when she offered help.
Yeah.
So I want to know, did he literally just tap him? You know, is there more to it? Who knows? Probably not. I mean, this seems pretty, I guess it's not fair to say cut and dry, but I mean, it seems pretty clear. I mean, we've all done that. You know, like you said, it's loud. You know, the flight attendant goes just past you and you're like, oh shit, I need to throw this away. Or I'd like a cup of ice. Oh, excuse me. I mean, what is the fucking big deal? I don't get it.
I don't either. All I know is that if it was you and me, if we even tried to sue, who, you know, that would be a joke. Nothing would happen.
Well,
they would give us a small settlement. Basically, here's some vouchers and we'll put you up in a hotel. We're sorry about that, but it would be no big deal. It's only because he's got this big platform, you know, all his fans, and being a Pro Football Hall of Fame player, that anything's happening for him. You and me would get no apology. And you know what else is the big difference between me and Terrell Davis? If there's a misunderstanding, it's some FBI agents came for me. First of all, I would, you know, my sphincter would climb up inside my body, and I would be scared to death that FBI agents are hauling me off this plane. I'm like, yeah, I am going to be, you know, extreme rendition somewhere. This is the end of old John. I always figured it would be the feds who would take me out. But I'm surprised that it's, you know, from an incident on an airplane. But I wouldn't even think of suing. Like, I get taken off a plane with, like, in handcuffs or whatever. I guess I don't have a wife and child to, like, be embarrassed in front of in this scenario, but, like, I would just be like, oh, no problem. Can I have my bags? Can I go? Like, or like, I missed my connecting flight. Like, can you fix this, please? I wouldn't be like getting up on a platform and having my agent, you know, which I don't have one, reaching out and trying to make a big thing out of it. So, you know, in some sense, I feel bad for what happened to the guy, but be the bigger man. You know, that's one thing we don't have in this country anymore either. We don't have adults in charge, but we also don't have big people saying, you know what, this is fine. It's over. It's not really United Airlines' fault that this guy's like some sort of weird, you know, schizophrenic pansy. Just, I'll let you guys handle it. It's embarrassing enough already that this has made the news, and I'm out of here.
Well, the way you read it, the way the article read, you know, there wasn't a big scene made. Other passengers were confused, you know, according to the article. You know, if you remember, you know, a few months back when Adam Jones had a big blow up on a flight, he hadn't taken off yet, so they removed him from the plane. But the cell phone videos that were out there is he's screaming. Now he never laid hands on anybody, but he created a scene. Whether he was right or whether he was wrong, a scene was created. It doesn't appear from the way this article reads that there was, you know, this big, you know, massive uproar, you know, a bunch of yelling and screaming or, you know, whatever. So that's the weird part to me is how far it went. Yeah, when he said there was no more interaction outside of the tapping, and then that's the weird part in this story for me. Because usually, you know, you see all the videos from like Spirit Airlines where people are literally, the whole plane's throwing hands. I mean, it's like Soul Train on a plane.
Do you think maybe, like, just to get a little bit more conspiratorial, do you think there's any chance this steward, I don't know what you call him, flight attendant, do you think maybe he knew that this guy was a big deal and that he had lots of money, and that if he could get him for assault because he had touched him, and that maybe by throwing a big scene that he would get people to corroborate, oh, like he was clearly upset, whatever happened with Terrell Davis, like grabbing this guy on the plane in an attempt to sue Terrell Davis. Like, do you think that's possible?
Oh, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, look at our society and how sue happy everybody is already.
I wouldn't recognize Terrell Davis on sight, though, is the thing.
I mean, I personally would, but I was a huge Terrell Davis fan back in the day. So
yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't.
But yeah, I mean, if you don't know who he is, then then that scenario kind of gets thrown out. But
on the other hand, they are flying out of Denver, and if this guy does a lot of Denver runs, or if he's done a lot of Denver to Santa Ana runs, like if Davis is constantly flying to Santa Ana, maybe this is a flight he takes a lot, and maybe he knows it and he thought this was his big chance and he did something stupid and everyone could kind of see through it, which if so, good job, society, for putting an end to this stupid bullshit. But at the same time, I would prefer Terrell Davis not, beat the hell out of United Airlines and make my plane tickets more expensive, because that really is how it will play out.
Exactly.
Right? United Airlines is not just going to take it on the chin and be like, well, sorry, stockholders, everything, the prices are down. This, your stock prices are down because we had to pay out millions and millions of dollars to Terrell Davis. And what will happen is that they'll recoup that money with more expensive tickets for you and for me. So please, Terrell Davis, don't sue them, because like I said, United Airlines isn't going to risk taking a hit this quarter that causes their stockholders to bail on them. So it'll just come down on us, as it always does. People don't realize that the shit always ultimately rolls downhill onto you and me.
Yep.
This is also in the NFL news in a rather slow news week, but Brandon Aiyuk reportedly asked for trade. This is like, if you want to talk asking for a trade, he's been like posting things to social media all summer about trying to get out of there. He's like got a buddy over on the Redskins that he wants to go play with. But I don't think the 49ers are going to let him go. Why? Because what are you going to get for him at this point that's actually going to replace him? So I guess my question would be will Aiyuk hold out? But this is from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting. Brandon Aiyuk, star wide receiver for the 49ers, has been asked for a trade after he and the team were unable to reach an agreement on a contract extension, according to NFL Network's Mike Garofalo. Aiyuk and the team brass reportedly met recently, but the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May. Let me say that it makes me very pleased that the Cowboys are not the only ones who are completely mismanaging their offseason. Aiyuk, 26, has been with the Niners his entire career. They drafted him in 25th overall in 2020, and he has produced for them. He has 269 receptions for 3,931 yards and 25 touchdowns for San Fran over his 4-year career. Aiyuk managed to find a way to materially improve his game every single season, but he took a huge jump forward when Brock Purdy ascended to the starting quarterback position in 2022. Aiyuk's 2 first seasons with the Niners were Purdy free. He tallied 118 receptions and 10 touchdowns, but his 2 most recent seasons, in which he and Purdy have been slinging away, he has 153 receptions and 15 touchdowns. So, yeah, that's much more production. While Aiyuk wants out, that may not be what the Niners want. In fact, despite numerous calls inquiring for Aiyuk's availability, ESPN's Adam Schefter reportedly the Niners have no intention of trading him anywhere. Aiyuk's teammate Deebo Samuel requested a trade in 2022, but ultimately signed a 3-year, $73.5 million extension and didn't miss a game. Later on, 49ers placed first-round rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall on active non-football injury list. For the right price, the Niners could absolutely be convinced to part with Aiyuk. You think so? But considering how well Aiyuk works in their schemes, it's not clear if any NFL team would be willing to pay a price that's staggeringly astronomical. Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, he's a talented guy, but like, he is working well within the system. If you look at the way that he was and the way he's improved with Shanahan and Purdy, it's like it shows that he works well there. And it could be that other teams aren't willing to pay a high price for him. Particularly, he's been playing for 4 years. I would say he's still got a lot of a lot of tread still left on the old tire, but I wouldn't exactly say he's a hot commodity. What do you think?
Well, I've been watching the Netflix special called Receivers, where they did QBs last year. They did receivers this year. So, and they're following George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, but Aiyuk is in a bunch of this, obviously, and a bunch of episodes. And it seems like they have a very, very good working relationship. I mean, it seems like everything's kind of, it's gelling.
Yeah, Devonte Adams hates Jimmy Garoppolo, case in point. You don't always get that.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think they'll come to a deal. I don't think they'll trade him because, like you said, there is more tread left on that tire, but at what cost? And what team, what team's gonna pay top dollar when, I mean, these players are almost a dime a dozen at this point, it seems like.
I would say that the Redskins are probably the only one that would really do that just because they fucking suck, because they're cursed by God. The original racist team, doomed to be a forever middling to lousy, and changed the name. And I hate the Redskins. So they're probably like the one team that would definitely go for it. I don't even know who their starting quarterback is this year. I used to try to pay attention, but I don't know. So I could see that the Redskins might be reaching out and seeing if they can come up with a deal. But if you're paying between NFC, the 49ers are not going to make that an easy deal for the Redskins. So no more thoughts on that?
Sorry, I was looking up because I was trying to remember. Marcus Mariota is expected to be the starter.
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
He's not on our list for today.
Something that's funny I wanted to just address as we close on out, because I'm getting sleepy. Trade rumors, they talk about Brandon Aiyuk being traded, calling for a trade. I've been kind of following the Devonte Adams thing because, like I said, he hates Jimmy Garoppolo, and Aaron Rodgers is well known for kind of like maintaining close relationships with his guys, whether that's Randall Cobb or whoever else, and kind of like wanting to rebuild the Super Bowl winning Packers in New York. And he had good chemistry with Devonte Adams, and Devonte Adams going to, at that time, Oakland. I believe it was Oakland when he went over to the Raiders. Anyway, he went to the Raiders. It was part of the things that further pissed off Aaron Rodgers. And I could see Aaron Rodgers wanted to be back with Devonte Adams. So the rumor mill's way open. So if you just Google Devonte Adams trade rumors, this is what you get. ESPN, Adams agent calls trade speculation baseless. Someone else says, this is from Lombardi Avenue. NFL Insider thinks the blockbuster Devonte Adams trade is a done deal. Someone else says, Devonte agent denies that his client is on the trade block, surely to be, something else. So you look at all these different sources and they're just like, oh, this is definitely going to happen. This would be hypothetically cool. There is absolutely no trade talk period. Yes, we are trading under the table. It just goes to show you this time of year, there's no news going on and people just make up shit. There's nothing going on. And certainly it shows in this episode, but who the hell knows who's going to get traded anywhere? We're all just grasping for NFL news. The season's 50 days away. I can't wait for that.
It's close.
Getting closer.
1985 was the first Homerun Derby, by the way.
Okay. This tradition basically is almost as old as me.
Yeah, 50 days is not long, and wait till more training camp. Starts gets real hot and heavy for your rumors, your rumor mill to start spiking.
I'm okay with there being more news and getting more excited. Even as the heat kind of wears off, I get more excited. And you know what else? I'm someone that likes the Pro Bowl. I'm someone else that likes preseason. I don't know why I didn't consider it, but why didn't I think about coming out and going to the Hall of Fame game? I could have seen you hypothetically if you didn't mind going up there towards Canton.
Should have thought about it.
Well, there's always next year. Besides, who is it this year that's playing? The Bears and the Texans?
Yeah.
I don't care about either one of those teams.
Me neither.
When's the next episode of One More and I'm out of here?
That is a good question. It'll probably be after the weekend.
Because you're going up to Michigan to sell the secrets of Ohio out to the Michigan's leaders up there.
You know me so well, John. Actually, Pappas, my partner in crime,
who?
Andrew Pappas, who's helping co-host. He's actually up at the RNC right now.
I thought his name was Chims Feldersprint.
Well, you change it each time, so I can never keep track. But yeah, he's actually up at the RNC, so I'm sure we'll do a recap once I get back into town. So
that's really the ultimate sport, isn't it? Well, you let me know. You didn't let me know on Friday like you said you would, so I felt a little rejected by that. But to show that I'm serious about it, I definitely want to air my grievances on the air about it. What happened was I saw you did the episode. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was happening today. So
Right.
no big deal. If you ever want me to drop by, I'm just sitting around waiting.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for listening to this kind of laid back and maybe not the most interesting episode of Illegal Shift, but hey, even the most boring football news is better than basketball news. So we're doing our best around here.
That's facts.
Things are going to pick up next week. We got the Olympics next week. Kiefer, you get into the Olympics at all?
Not so much. I mean,
Damn
I'll
it. Will
for
you
this,
try to fake it so that it seems exciting?
For
Yes,
this-
yes. I can't wait for the
this, I will.
100-meter dash. We're going to have Americans racing Canadians. Yeah.
for research purposes, I will watch just
Suck
for
it,
you.
Zimbabwe. Like, I just, I don't know. We'll try to gin up some kind of excitement about that. I think the Olympics is the biggest fucking scam on earth. I think it's boring and terrible. And I think, to be honest with you, like when it comes back to settling our differences about which country is better, there's no substitute for war. I think we ought to bring back war. I don't know how you feel about that, Keith, but I would
be
much,
an Olympic sport. They're making everything else an Olympic sport.
I would much prefer to see that. So, maybe we'll go back to war, especially if the ratings are down. You know what else I hate is that all of the networks of NBC make such a big fucking deal out of the Olympics. And it's just like, is it really a ratings thing? Do people really care that much about the Olympics? I don't know.
Yeah, and let's have it somewhere where we're not going to have clean water. That sounds like a great idea.
Well, that's the other thing about the scam. It's a scam about the Olympics is like, all these cities, bid for the Olympics and they think this will revitalize their city. And yeah, they have a big thing there for like, 2 or 3 weeks during the Olympics. And then it's a fucking ghost town afterwards. And you have all this infrastructure that's crumbling and you can't pay for. And it's, of course, all the government people that made it all happen, they get paid and then they disappear. And then it's the suckers, the chumps at the bottom, just like I said. Same thing in St. Louis. So those people still paying off the Rams stadium, even though they have no Rams. So
That was a good segue there.
thank you. But we'll catch you guys back here next week. Eric will be here with a show. It is Eric's birthday tomorrow, I believe. So make sure you're saying happy birthday to him. He's 40. Nothing left to celebrate. Nothing left to look forward to, other than just catching up with Kiefer. We'll catch up with you.
It's a race that I will always win.
It's a race to oblivion, and Kiefer's winning. All right, guys. We will catch you here next week. Thank you so much for all you're doing, being a fans of the show. If you do watch us, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next time. Guns up, giddy up.
Giddy up.
Goodbye, America.
I love you, John.
I love you too.